Hey, how are you guys? It's Crypto Sniper time indeed. And here we are. We're talking to you about why it's a great opportunity and why crypto owes gold big time. Yes, you should hopefully hear me nice and loud. Let me know in the chat where you are and hit up the like if you can. We sent out the bad link first time, as we usually do. Audio. They've always changed it. They make the audio the last thing that happens, and it always reverts to something it shouldn't. Anyway, we're with you and we want to tell you something. We're here to get in charge, and it can't be too long. I've got places I've got to go, things to do, and I wanted to tell you that Bitcoin is supporting on the key level. Bitcoin is supporting on the key level we've identified some time ago. We've heads up our community. We've been watching this very closely. So there's suddenly a lot of bears. There's a lot of bears in crypto land. Let's have a look. Let's make sure we also do share screen as well. Why not? Here we go. Share the screen. Welcome to you all, by the way. Welcome. We're going to do some charts with you for a short spell. Here we go. And let's also get one of the most common influencers is Ben Cowan, I think it is. Ben Cowan is the crypto guy. Let's soon see. How's it? Or was it Cohen? What's his name? A lot of people have been calling the top. Someone help me with the spelling. A lot of people have been calling the top and saying it's over for crypto. Well, actually, we are not so convinced by that. Go and tell me, Ben Cohen. Cohen, W-E-N, I should have guessed. Let's have another look. There's others, by the way. It's not to pick on any one person. We just have a different opinion. We all have opinions, and people can be right, people can be wrong. I don't know why I'm not finding him. I was seeing him all the time. We decided to jump on, and here's what we got. So let's just get on with our take and the charts, shall we? This 108 level is a very important level. Benjamin Count. So what's the Twitter handle? Drop the Twitter handle, guys. That's what I need, because there's been quite a bit said. So here's a double top. That was very important. We've shown you this one many times before, and it was quite important. Let's do it in the transgender pink. There you go. 1 and 2. And then, of course, the floor over here that made the 93 level very important. We spoke a lot about the 93. These are numbers you wouldn't normally or automatically hear people say. Into Cryptoverse. Thank you. I'll have a look at that now. So that made the 108 a resistance point, made the 108 a key resistance point with Bitcoin. And what subsequently happened is you came up and you flagged when you got to 108 again. And in actual fact, you did just like gold, which is exactly what we said would happen. You did a little wind up upside HVF on the same level, like the 2000 level of gold that we told you about when gold was 2000. You know what it is today, don't you? You do know that gold is doing the job for crypto. 3,550 odd. We'll have a look at it soon, just to show you. But here you go, winding up. That set up a very aggressive flag possibility. And we started to go pretty well out the HVF, and then we petered out real bad. Now, the only thing that's interesting for us is this is a broadening structure with a slight descent. And you're still on a bullish pole. But it went real slow. And that broadening structure came down to that key level. And I said to my community, I think that stands. And we saw a swathe of people turn bearish. A lot of people, by the way, there's lots of decent reasons. We've seen legacy wallets suddenly dumping. We're seeing Bukalele selling. We're seeing a lot of that, but who knows how much of that has been baked in. We know MicroStrategy is actually a Ponzi. Most of us do anyway, and think that it probably doesn't end too well for him in the high volatility stakes, but that's what he was there for. But we don't feel that for now, that was a bearish thing. And we've been watching that, we've been stalking it, and we needed Bitcoin to turn. So our community is already back long. We've been saying that we're biasing back bull. We're thinking it's tentative bull, despite record high stock market prices going into the great August, September, October period, which is a very demand destroying event kind of potential. Debt markets losing their stuff in terms of the rates on the long end, getting higher and higher and higher. What's actually happening? Gold. gold. We must come back and say Bitcoin, which is meant to be digital gold, is actually being shown up by gold. I'm just going to pull up gold here, XAU USD, and we bring it up on Oranda. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting, kiddies. This is great stuff for Goldilocks, by the way. We got everybody again in our community, long gold, long silver, long platinum as well. Hasn't moved as much as yet. If we'll have a look at this from the monthly, you put it on the weekly time frame, that is a great breakout. And in fact, I'll be doing on our blog post, why September? The early days of September have always been such a key thing. And I'll be telling you about 2009 September, when I last made a gold forecast, which was roundabout when the NSA, the CIA, and all their skunk works were developing early Bitcoin and no one had heard about it. I was talking about gold, why it was a breakout, why it was in a structure just like that, why it's anti-fiat, yes sir, anti-debt, and pro when they debase goes up by holding value, 3,562. By showing the way as king of the anti-fiats, we've been waiting for Bitcoin to follow suit. At the same time, let me just get Cryptoverse up on that. At the same time, a lot of people were getting very bearish. He just popped in because he's got a lot of followers. He normally speaks a reasonable amount of sense as well. No, I'm still not finding it. Somebody give me in the comments. Someone says it's KuCoin. Is there anybody who actually knows? It stumbled into my feed. I don't know it. And now come back. Oh, for God's sake. Are you guys still there? Are you guys still there? What's happened? Okay. Does anybody? Someone type Yo Ben Cohen. Okay. Yo Ben Co. Into Cryptoverse. Okay, let me try one more time. Let's go find these people. Into Cryptoverse. There he is. Thank you very much. That's it. It's Benjamin. So they were saying a crash down to moving averages was what I was seeing. He's probably done a few tweets since, but I was seeing this. It just popped up in my feed. I'm not a specific follower, but he's got a lot of following. Tends to be pretty calm-headed. This is it. Now that Ethereum has run the prior all-time highs in August, he says, I think ETH will drop down to its 221. Let's share screen so that you guys can see it too. Here we go. Here we go. You can see too. Why don't we drive that you can see too? Where are you? There you go. The Ethereum has run the prior all-time highs in August. I think ETH will drop back to its 21-day EMA, which is a moving average, which we don't believe at all in. We don't think it's useful. A lot of people get upset with this idea, but it's just been the plan. Oh, it was preordained. I don't know about the plan. But anyway, since ETH went home in April, new all-time high, then pull back to 21 moving average. Let's have a look at that chart then, so that we can see the plan. So the plan at the moment sees ETH moving average at 1,800, and it's trading 4,321 when he posted this. Now, if Bitcoin bases on the 108, which is our suspicion on a broadening, descending megaphone structure, and starts to come back into range, we still anticipate that there's a decent chance outside of a chronic DDE, which could actually support it. It doesn't mean if you get a demand destroying event, crypto 100% goes down. I would most times bet it would, certainly in the initial instance, but there could be an instance, like a little bit like we're seeing now. We are in a recession. It's just not an extremist crisis with a major false flag event and a shock and horror all explosion. But actually, we've been in and out of recessions for a while. If the true stats were done, we're in a very stubbornly high inflation rate, which is being masked by false statistics. And at the same time, we've got a crushed consumer whose cost of living is going up much faster than his wages. With that, gold climbs. With that, Bitcoin should be doing better and is probably basing. To come down from the 4.3s, we'll have a look at where ETH is in a minute now, to come down to the 4.3s is from the 4.3s all the way down to where he's suggesting is not in our base case scenario. In short, we have an upside and we think 13,800 for Ethereum. Could get bouncy if we were to have a demand destroying event, as we've said already. But if this turns out to be the support we think it should be, and listen, it doesn't have to be bullish from here. This is not a major rip. You're not looking at the biggest rip that Bitcoin's ever put in, but it is respecting a key technical level that has been in existence for quite some time. And it's a concern when too many start to get too bearish. And ETH going down to 1800s. Listen, if it takes longer to get down there, this will creep higher. You know, at some point it gets to 2.2. But when you're talking about a 21-week moving average, these things don't tend to move so quickly. It is a weekly chart. And you want 21 weekly candles being averaged the whole time. No, it's going to move slow because it's a big time frame moving average. So we'll go and have a look at ETH in a minute. But what does this say for, let's finish what we want to say with Bitcoin. By the way, also on Bitcoin dominance, you will see here, this is the inverted dominance like we always want to do it. So just to remind you on the bigger time frame, if we go up to weekly, we clean our face a little bit. We do the dominance upside down because we are inherently bullish alts and we want to see the moment that alts start dominating. We've called a turn here. We've called a turn here for alts and we expect alts to actually outperform. So where he is bearish Ethereum, potentially calling a 2.2, 2,000, 1,800 pullback, depending how long it takes to get down there, the longer it doesn't have to come as deep because the moving average will be inching up on a long-standing basis. We actually think ETH goes higher. We think it goes in the opposite direction. And we are expecting alts to dominate, providing Bitcoin is not crashing. And Bitcoin is the king of the cryptos. It's the king of the anti-fiats within crypto, and gold is the king anti-fiat of the entire category. That's why I say crypto owes gold, because it's standing up and doing what it always should be doing, and digital gold should start to do what real gold does, if it's to really be considered digital gold. And that means people start seeking out inflation, stagflation, hideouts. It's not the bond market that's crashed 55%. It's not a super hyper valued stock market that probably is at some point is going to have a chronic re-rating to the downside, but it could grind a lot higher for a lot longer. We don't know. But it's not a good, safe, asymmetric bet. Too much capital saturated in the US equity markets from the Swiss National Bank as a hedge fund on the Mag 7 and everything else. So what do we have? Where does money go? They've created liquidity. You know, the M2's been high. They've been doing all of the things. Where does it go? Right now, it's been going into gold and the other money substitute precious metals. So silver has run as well, and also platinum. So gold, silver, and platinum in that order is where the money is going. And now we're starting to see. Already we had the turn of alts over here, and the king of the alts that's finally woken up after a very bad performance so far is Ethereum, but it's got catch up to do. So again, not an Ethereum maxi, but generally we run the stack by market cap and liquidity. The greater the market cap, the less risk people have in perception of that token. They can get in and they can still get out. Also, there's other things like ETFs that would have to be formed. These aren't happening at crypto number 39, 78 and 267. That's not where the action is. Are there some cryptos that are outperforming? Yes, we can have a little look and see who's up the most on the 7-day side of things. But you'll see a meme core. We're not interested in that. We want market cap first. So we go to market cap and we see who's been doing the best in the last 7 days. You'll see Solana 2%, not been a good period for crypto. You've not heard much for us. We've been watching and waiting. Is the 108 going to do what we think it should? Bitcoin Cash, I'll be showing you the Bitcoin Cash dominance chart in a minute, is actually the winner of the last 7 days. That doesn't mean it's a recommendation by me, by the way, but I will show you something a little bit interesting in all of that. So it's not been a particularly nice time for crypto, not for Bitcoin, not even for the alt. So let's go back to that dominance. We expect this dominance to reassert and continue on its upside journey, heading for the mid 40s into the low 40s. Remember, this, the higher you go, the lower the number, as part of making a third high for its relative dominance to Bitcoin. So back to Bitcoin. What is it doing? That is, we'll come back to Bitcoin Cash. Let's get back to Bitcoin. This is bouncing on a key level of significance. It's not ripping. It just needs to stay in the range and broadly inch its way up. That's what we require of Bitcoin. Is it the best trade right now? No, unless you're a tactical day trader. You could have hopped in when we were starting to nibble it, and then you could take something off, you know, when it gets somewhere around the splitter level. It can chop and churn a wee bit. As I say, this is not a ripper in terms of general move, but it's not going down. It's not going down. In a very uncertain market environment, it's currently not going down. So let's get ETH up on the board and show you why we think ETH is going to do just dandy. In fact, one more thing to say on the 3 rules of selling. I'm going to take this down to 4 hours. Learn something from me for free. You'll learn a lot more, by the way, in the community, but typically you get 3 strikes of selling where there's violence in selling. That's a real strike with a skid into a low. Then there's a secondary strike, and then another rally, and then there's a final strike. The 3 strikes of selling: 1, Greek 2, and Greek 3. There you go. Double bottom, low vol, and at our key level of significance. 3 distinct waves of selling 2 rallies. One was a spike rally. One was a channel, which you should have expected to have a second round of selling. We were watching it on the way down and saying, I think it comes down and it tests the 108, which it does. It must trade that 107.25 and hold. That's what happened. Love the no BS video from yesterday. Why am I rude, undignified, obnoxious person? You've got the rude boy in the house. He's right. Thank you very much to Huda Shooter for his acknowledgement of the channel. Absolute pleasure, and we appreciate your kindness. Thank you for being a supporter and friend. And we'll keep trying to be that guy. So it's not a ripper, but it's a return. That was quite hard into the low here. Boom, like that. This is walking out. It's not a ripper yet, but if you get up to here, then you start to have the possibility. So around about 113, you get a possibility of inverted head and shoulder. You're at 112.9 now. You then get that, then you can break, you can return move, and you can start doing some targets back into the midst of the broadening structure. It's not a record breaking, it's not the supreme bull call where I'm saying, guys, I've never, sweaty palms, I've never seen anything like it, you must go in. I'm just expecting general holding its own and upward creep. That's good for the alt market, because if Bitcoin goes up too much, it becomes a honey badger and it suckles all the honey. And right now, the trade actually wants to be, in our view, the next in the queue, the next cab off the lot. And the next cab off the lot for us right now is Ethereum. And again, I want to show you the 3 strikes rule. And you can see it here. Grasping for a final high, shooting star, tactical. A tactical trader shorts there, puts a stop loss there, gains the downside. Where does he expect it to bounce? Legacy funnel of an HVF, bounce there. There's your bounce. Come back in, channel down, deeper in, stops just shy of the stop of that funnel, the red line. 1 more week rally, another level of selling. So you've had 1 selling, there's your 1. You've had 2 selling, not as harsh. This was the spank. First one was the spank. Let's get the order right in terms of momentum. This was a downward channel. That's the second wave of selling. Greek 2 looks like a Z, and then you get another weak rally, and this one actually runs the previous low, but is a marginally lower low. It's not a significant lower low, and by its form of descent, it's even milder descent. Starts pointing to building a base in the funnel, having technically just run. Key levels of significance are technically just run. That's what we teach. This is what you will learn when you hit the link and you book a call, and you will maximize. And no one else is telling you this. People have scared the crypto market out. Not picking on Ben, does a lot of good stuff. I'm sure he's got an absolute shit ton of followers. He's probably very consistent and accurate, and he spells better than me, and probably swears a bunch less, and is, good guy. No personal digs, just a different opinion right now. And many others have started to call tops on Bitcoin. I've seen quite a bit more of it. So I've waited and I've watched to come out with that contrarian view. Support here. What's it done? This is a bit of a better move. These are better candles from Ethereum. You see that? These three green candles that you've had now. A little bit of a sign of momentum. If you've got a good exchange, you can look at the volume. For that, I'd probably use Binance and the USDT instead. It's not huge volume on Stamp. Let's have a look and see if we get a better proxy. Binance, and see how that volume is there. Again, you saw, as we highlighted, you saw the three waves of selling and the dissipation. The interesting thing about Ethereum was the dissipation. I wanted to see Bitcoin support to buy Ethereum, because the dissipation of the momentum got softer into each leg of selling. It just hammered itself out and ran out of puff. That's what you want, because that means all the sellers that wanted out are out. All the pain, all the people that wanted to go, all the people that needed to fly are done. Three waves of selling, ever more milder rallies eventually leads to the rally. How does this go up from here? And what TA could we draw? Well, I need to remind you of the bigger picture. This also could set up the larger head. See the wick there, marginally lower low. You could also get a head and shoulder. You might even be closer to doing it. You could do, you could do that and come back, sit in here and then break. It doesn't have to take that long. It could be just a short single candle down and break. And that would start to set up upsides back up here. You could see this was running out of puff, broadening structure, a failed shooting star, marginally higher high. That's bearish, just like the marginally lower low is bullish. How many people tell you that, where you can't really push in on that? It's HVF method theory. That's why you're not hearing it from everybody else. It's not available. And we make our case for it every time, and we show you. So that is why Ethereum is, in my view, looking like it's going to go up. Will we rip? Well, let's remind ourselves where we are. We're going out, and we're going to eventually finish on the weekly time frame. And here we go, here we go. Who else were the big bears that were calling tops on crypto? There were quite a few, like crypto names that I'd sort of heard of before, that thought I'd seen before. Quite a few, I seem to remember. You can all tell me in the chats. I'll have a look at the chats. Someone took the jab, he says. So this is the upside HVF. I want to remind you that you did run your first interim target there. Up, down, fancy that, supporting on your first interim. Next move up, red candle, and now we're getting the early makings of a hammer. Also important to remind you, ADP numbers and non-farm payrolls Friday. We will do a live trading day, an hour and a half on crypto, an hour and a half on traditional markets before that with a half-hour break, taking all your questions, showing you what we like in the markets, what we will potentially trade, how we can maximize in these times. It's all doomer. Let me tell you, it's opportunity aplenty. P&Ls are singing right now on gold, silver, and platinum immensely. Big numbers, and they could go back to singing again on crypto. And a lot of people have been terrified into staying out. So this still exists, and that target of 13,780 up top there is still our target for ETH. And that is not I don't see that as being a cycle later. I feel 70% certain that should be something that should happen before this entire alt event has concluded and for this cycle. I would also point out the cycles are becoming more prone to business cycles and less prone to Bitcoin's halvening cycle. And we have got a cut coming potentially in September, but the long end says we're going higher. So it's quite a confused interest rate environment. You are watching hyperstagflation, where people are experiencing both increases in the cost of living, inflation, and chronic lagging in their earnings and their wagings that is making them feel poorer and less well off on their salaries. Stagnation, disinflationary for the consumer, prices and commodities and real things going up. It's very confusing, and they both can exist in the same time. Drinking game, take a shot every time the sniper says squeezy. Yeah, he's right on that one. Is the money printer going? Okay, so let's see what you wanted to show you. So everyone clear on why we think this can go higher if Bitcoin stops going down? And I think it has. And I think gold progress as an alternative to the debt fiat system, it's hoovering a lot of the money. But it is at its second interim, and if it slows down, people will start to say, gold's moved a fair bit. What about that old digital alternative as well? And that could see a little bit of the flow siphon off into crypto, much smaller market caps. Gold must now be a 25 trillion plus market cap, and that could see a little bit of flow, just a small percent of that which is being chased into by central banks into gold. You could see a little bit of hedge funds. I don't think it'll be central banks, certainly not Chinese, Russian buying Bitcoin, the CIA project, the NSA project, but you'll see a little bit of investors recognizing gold going up, saying, what about that? And I think Ethereum will be the main beneficiary. XRP. So someone was once XRP. So we've got the macro on this, and I think short time frame we're ready to reassert. When's the next rest point? 7,400. So once we turn here, we could be fairly steady progress to 7.5, 7.4, you know, there or thereabouts before we rest again, and then the run for 13.8. XRP. Now, XRP was in a descending triangle. It wasn't quite right. And now it's also slowly turning. So let's do that daily on there. Get rid of that. You are part of the way through what I would describe as a falling wedge stroke descending triangle here. It's not, in terms of volume, it's less significant than Ethereum. There's not a wall of money, but it's being tickled upwards. It's what I'd call just a little tickle of the old testicle upwards. There's a little perky nana at the end of a tickled testicle, you know. I think that's a little bit of a perking up to a semi there. It's not really on a ripper. It's not a super bouncy about getting its end away. It's kind of, yeah, okay, I'll stop limping down. What do we talk about? We talk about the 3 impulse falling wedge, which again is the law of 3 sales. You've possibly got the third, and you come here. You want to cross here. When you get to the capping, descending grind line, a tactical component of a 3-part component on a falling wedge that only us as technical analysts define, write theory for, and do the book for, so that people can discuss one particular line. It's not a resistance. A resistance is a price level. You don't get varying resistance. It's a capping, descending grind line, which is containing the price behavior for now, which usually allows for some compression, and compression is a volatility squeeze. However, it is not, when you look at the splitter, horizontal compression. It has a downside gradient that makes it in the category of a falling wedge, but the compression is still your friend. The squeezy, have a shot, that man. The squeezy element is going to give you the triggering push that will give you a little bit of momentum when you break out through the double line that I'll now make a triple line that I've referred to as a capping descending grind line. And you will probably, when that moment comes, see a little bit of an improvement in the volume, like you saw here, for example. You see that? You need volume. Volume drives moves. You see that right there. Volume drives moves. So you will see that. You can actually set alerts. Can you set alerts for volume? I'm not sure. You can certainly set alerts for the price movement over here. So that's where XRP is. Again, I'll highlight it traded 3.4 and our call was 3.36. It still remains a very good localized high. It's only been violated once and not for very long. So we are still in a stall period. What about its big picture like you did for Ethereum, the weekly chart? Okay, I'll go there too, because we are still maintaining with all our things that XRP can indeed get to the point where it will be. We don't need Coinbase, that's for sure. We need someone a bit better than that, where it will have its 19.35 target run and potentially well beyond that as a macro upside HVF call. Let's switch the eye on, and I have to leave in about 5-10 minutes, guys. So there won't be too many requests taken this time, I'm afraid. So big upside HVF. We're just talking the macros. Don't forget to hit the link and the like button. I am using SimpleFX, by the way, and I'm getting to trade my crypto and my gold. And I've just maxed that account to an all-time high, actually on gold, using crypto as collateral. Kind of cool that. And then I can turn it into USDT, Bitcoin, whatever. It's pretty cool. The link is below. You can trade across all markets for that. And that allows you to trade traditional markets, which are going to move. There will be miners that will do crypto shit, be warned. And there'll be silver that on its own will be capable of pulling some serious crypto shit. So this is the setup that everybody is interested in. That's your relative high 3. That's your low 3. That is unchanged. You are in essentially a stall. See that? That was also a falling wedge. You got a breakout, and now you got another falling wedge. 2 fractals getting smaller, which often means the move is potentially coming. So you had a big surge, then you had a small surge. Big surge got a big falling wedge. A smaller pop got a smaller falling wedge. Are we incrementally climbing higher? Let's have a look at that draw, because I know you love to see it. I know you love to see that big number. So that's your draw, 19.35. You are, by the way, important point, be one of the reasons why some are getting frustrated. Why XRP not running? Well, you did the first target, the first interim level there. You came down and kissed it over there. And you're still in a bit of progress decay period. You got the 2 falling wedges here. What you really need is this falling wedge to break, and that would take you through the next key level, 4.55 and $5. So a really good move out of this could actually see you get 4.55 or $5 as a potential next level. And then you would already be at the second interim. But most of you are waiting for the big 5 to 19. And you'll see this as log scale, because that's a massive move, 5 to 19. But it actually looks like it's only really a third of the total move. Don't forget, we were in over here. But in truth, the bulk of it is coming near the end with the melt up, if it is to be this cycle. I would still say, I think this cycle, but I think this cycle is a longer cycle. It's not as violent a cycle, but we have more time with it. And you'll have these lulls where I'll be quiet. I'll be watching. Are we getting a support level? It might be pulling back like we have been. I'm not sure when our last crypto video was out, but it was probably 2 weeks ago. There's been no cause to just come up and read you news. It's not what we are about. We need technical-based events that validate an opinion and a take. So I think there's a bit of a tickle recovery, and with a bit of luck and a bit of momentum, if we are on the bull side. This is not a call, but it's a bigger than most people are pricing in. Too bearish now. Where's the sentiment indicator? Where's crypto sentiment indicator? I'd actually like to know. I've stopped sentiment. Let's have a look at that. Crypto sentiment, what's it called? Fear and greed index. That's the one. That's the one. Let's have a look. Okay, you can bring it up. Do it again. because I've got the impression that quite a few people we've come back a long way from greed. You know, last month 64, you're down at 55. You were 49 yesterday. You're below half yesterday. And this is a bull market run, guys. You're still in the bull market. We're not in the bear yet. This isn't FTX and Three Arrows Capital and all the you-know-who's chosen ones who've been bust stealing everybody's money bear market phase. That comes later. We're not there. We're in the happy days where we're all winning and we're sitting on 55. Okay, so it's kind of a little bit muted an environment. So that Bitcoin Cash dominance, it was interesting because we were seeing that. Here's your Bitcoin Cash dominance chart, which we were just looking at. We're on a 2-day time frame. It's not the longest, but you have 2 upside HVFs on that. This is the value of doing dominance technical patterns. There you have it. Squeezy, squeezy, Japanesey, quickly, someone drink. Up, up, up you go. You've got to make this target before that moment of time. So we even have time stops. That needs to get there. Okay, that's for this particular structure, but there's 2. If I take it away, you will actually see. I don't know how Bitcoin Cash is still surviving. I remember Roger Ver. He was the big promo guy behind it, and the whole block wars. I remember that. I was part of that world. Now you got a new setup that you need to get here before there. That means Bitcoin Cash's overall performance might overperform some other names. And I don't think it's cool anymore. It's Bitcoin Cash. It was kind of the other Bitcoin that, was given for free out the fork and what the hell and all of this stuff. But you've got it going, and it's turned from around 0.19 and it's heading to 0.36% of the market cap. And it's part of the way there. It's at 0.31 now. So, yeah, it's interesting observation. Does that mean I'm going to go dump the ones I'm holding for that? No, it isn't. But it does explain why in the top 15, 7.5% is okay. Thanks. Nice to know. We can carry on. My appointment is cancelled. So all good. So the 7.5% is the best performer by a mile. Most of these are down. Hyperliquid down 8.66. We were looking at it. It had positive setups a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, and now it's just gone off. You can see how the fair weather friends, the performance is, something that gets a bit of hype and then it can't hang on. Minus 4.68 for the last 7 days from XRP. Very interesting. 8.7 down. 7.7 Hedera. That's very well positioned for the status. 7.8 sitting at 18th place, down 7.8%. I can tell you the ones where we are holding are not down like that. But nonetheless, it's been a poor last 7 days for Bitcoin. And I'm here to tell you it's getting a tiny bit better. But you need to be in the right tokens. You can see our token selection can make it all the difference for those that are doing any light leverage, lukewarm trading. If you're going to sit with a particular pot long term that you think are winners, that's your bag, and you're not going to do any leverage trading, then you just have to make real sure those are the winners and do exactly that. Sit tight. Okay, let's have a look at what you got. Can you do V, says Nicholas, block V, and it's $VEE. Thank you for your kind contribution to the stream and its costs. He's asked for V. Let's go ahead and get it. So don't know the token at all. Fundamentally, I almost prefer ignorance. It allows me to be cold-blooded technically. Let's go USDT. VUSDT on MEX. That looks like the one. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So, Nicholas, you will have your reasons why you bought this. But at the moment, this looks like quite a recent release, February of this year. And it went into quite a deep sell-off. It's a typical launch token vibe. a whole bunch of insiders, mega gap up. They're all on about 10x here. Super surge with lots of hype and media and all of that. Some people buying on the day, followed by a lengthy correction. Eventually gets cheap enough that some money comes in, rounded top, and in a little bit of a sell phase. The only thing I can say that's not bad is that the volume on the selling has dropped. There was quite high volume here on the rebound. So there's quite a bit of change of hands going on. It's very early. It's very early in this token's life, Nicholas. So it looks a little bit slippy on the slidey slope there. It's not a rush in and buy for anyone who isn't in. And is it a hold? Well, it depends how you go. These early listing tokens can have a life of their own, and it depends on new money coming in versus money wanting to get out. And sometimes with a new listing, that number isn't particularly good. Can you do Solana versus Doggy, says Steve, and he's giving me AED times 10, which whatever that is, I'm delighted to have it. Thank you for your particular request. AED, Solana versus Doggy. So which is the better is the question, technically. We'll do market caps of both. So they've both been around a reasonable amount of time. I'm not sure why I'm getting such a short history. So I'm going to abandon that idea. I'm going to go, and because I want to give you a good answer. You put some shekels together for the good old market sniper to say thank you for your time. And I appreciate people who recognize that. And so we'll do our damnedest to do it properly. So Doggy, we should have a bit more history now if I do them both on Binance and do it. So what we've actually got here is the chart of the two tokens divided by each other. Let's go higher up time frame wise. So the question could be put to you, which token should you have? The answer I will give you, the short answer is, if that's your choice, that's the only choice you have. Red pill, blue pill, one or the other, you know, Solana is the choice. Okay. We had big selling when Doggy has a habit of sleeping and surges when Elon decides. It's very controlled. I've no doubt that he has some plan for utilizing that token, and it'll turn out being some X thing. I see someone else asking, and Nicholas is asking for block V. I guess it's also V from 218. Okay, I'll redo that one as well. But just in terms of the answer here, the technical analysis here is that. Now, some might say that's a rising wedge, but I wouldn't be intimidated by that. There are periods of sell-off, but I think you're about to go into your third up. If we were already there and flattening out, there is a risk that you would be having your third down leg. Remember what I talk about, three impulses. So if the question is right here and right now, I think you're going to do better in Solana. In other words, this chart's more likely to go up here than down there for me. But if we are up there, you might be about to get a surge on Doggy. So you might want to, if you like both and you want to know which one to be in Solana now. And when you get up here, maybe pivot for the down leg, which will be Doggy outperforming. And then longer term, if you're talking about macro, I think Solana beats it eventually on the top side. So hopefully that answered your question to Steve S. So back to Nicholas, not Z-verse, block V. It, I guess, is also V. It's from 2018. V is the ticker on Uniswap. Okay, so we did the wrong token. The poor guy paid, and we just sold him a hot dog when he asked for a steak. Let's see. So what is the ticker? V. On Uniswap. That's a future. Is that the right chart? I'll wait for our Nicholas man to answer. Is that the one you want? before we go forward. Was that the right chart? Did it look familiar? It also doesn't look like 2018 though. Do you mean, you won't mean VET? Block V. Okay, there's Block V. Okay, I think it is. But it's still not giving us since 2018. Why are we not finding that? Uniswap, he wants. Is that right? Thank you for all the work you do from Vancouver. Pleasure, Andoranic. Someone's a circle member, Mark, Sniper Circle member, just a name. Glad to have you on the stream as well. And I'm impressed with your gold and silver targets. Yes, we are doing great. The community is making money. I love that. Nothing better than community members getting fat and rich. I'm going to look at Dent in the meantime. Come back to us, Nicholas. VUSD or maybe Block V. I can't get up what you want. I really want to help you. Let's try Block V. I get all these futures. It's a mess. USDT. Nah. Give us the code you want me to search on. Otherwise, I can't do it. So Dent, D-E-N-T. What do I type into TradingView? I'll analyze whatever I get. And you have a credit. You don't need to pay again. I'll help you. So Dent, US dollar. So that was for Mina. Hello, Mina. Nice to have you on board. Nice to have is it a lady? I think it's a lady. I don't want to misgender. It looks like a nice lady. We've got to be real cool and polite. We love our ladies. Okay, Dent. Mina, Dent is, I want to tell you good news, but I'm not feeling it. So that was obviously a listing in July, I assume. And you've had 2 years of let's look at a lower time frame. I don't want to bum you out, but I'm not seeing it as being, that's your range of trade essentially, maybe a bit lower there, apart from the listing period. So I want to lose that listing period because you obviously got a pump there. Actually, you may have something a little more interesting if you're a holder on the shorter time frame. Here, I would like to see it go up, turn down, and give you upside continuation. That would be an example of how we could get some good vibes out of Dent on the lower time frames. So if we could do that, that points to an upside continuation pattern with a little bit of squeeze on it. So Mina, I hope that helps. I think it's on a daily time frame, so you don't have to wait forever. Should be broadly moving up, then maybe going a bit quiet, dull, spinning tops, hanging about. Don't get impatient. You could actually get a nice break to the upside. Where would it take you? Well, that's that amplitude projected from around here. I would see you could be getting back up. You might run a marginally higher high, and you might take out the previous high. So that was Mina on hers. Blake Ferguson, how are you doing, Blake? That's just a kind contribution. We say thank you very much. Mark Brown says it's V. It's just V. So we'll try one more time on that V token. But you saw what comes up when I just type V. So you got to tell me, what do you want? V Finance? Didn't sound like it. He said Block World, Block V. Into the block. Which one do you want? V Wet JH. Wow, jeez. Wet JH. No, nothing coming up. Let's go all. No. Stop being a success. With, I think you mean this. Uniswap. Must be Uniswap. Let's see what we got here. This might be it. I hope it is. I hope it is. VWETH. Okay, WETH as in wrapped Ethereum. Okay, that helps. I understand what that is. I'm going to stay on Uniswap. I think that's what we have. Yeah. Okay, well, the problem with these coins, especially when you've got them and wrapped, this is sketchy stuff. I don't know if that's real trade. Uniswap, that's whales getting flushed out. People submitting market orders on too thin a market. You had a little bit of it there. It has stopped. That was very much a 24 phenomenon, but you did have quite a nasty wick there. You had a surge beginning of the year, a bit of the alti stuff, and since then you've come quite a long way down, up, down, and now we're already down. I want to say to you good things, but it's not exciting for me technically. It's a concern for me technically. You got a bit of a hammer there. Maybe it can hammer out a low, but this is still part of a bottom after this overperformance leg. This is all a down move, a test for a low, a weak rally, and now grinding out for a new low. What you need is a W bottom, something like this. Let's try draw. What you need is something like that. You need it to finish a W bottom and maybe make another shoulder. Then we can talk about some upside targets. Still a bit to go before you get a chance of getting really any plausible upside. Other things will outperform in the meantime relative to that token. I think a certain influence was pushing V, so the pump wasn't organic but artificial. Might be, says someone in the comments. Very good. Okay, guys, that's it. So what are we saying? Let's just bullet summarize this. What's the 5 bullet takeout? The 1 minute takeout from here. There is a possibility that the rather bearish vibe that has been in existence is about to change on the basis of the King Bee, Bitcoin. Let's go back to putting BTC in there. Is respecting potentially what we refer to as the 108 level. Let's get it up on Bitstamp. I don't like T. I prefer the longer history of Bitstamp. So you're getting a bounce off a key level. We needed that bounce because it was a bit bearish. There is still a cluster of 2 targets, 148, 149. So we are not ready to say Bitcoin's done making highs. It's a bear market. What level would we say that? Because some people are saying it already. What level would we be saying that? Well, I'd start to be concerned if we ran this flag's low. That's at 98. So let's just take some of this work off here. Because this was a flag for the upside. It means the flag is invalidated if you run the corner low. So that's the flag again. And it looks like we're about to support a little bit on the blue number. So the cavalry might be arriving just in time to stop. You did revisit. This is a round trip. It's not good that you have a round trip, but you had a round trip here as well. You went up, you double topped. We called this neckline, break, target made, down. Then you had an inverted head and shoulder. It's not all puppy dogs and ice creams on the way up. You know, things recycle. You fell from a 108 to a low here of 74. In fact, we also had August. You had a crash during the carry trade unwind. It wasn't a major crash, but you were at 70 and you came down to 49. And now you're much higher. So you have to be careful about calling tops too soon. Keep on keeping on until you're wrong. That's how we play it. Keep on keeping on until you're wrong. And that's a broadening structure with a descent on it. It's on a pole. We have a cluster of targets. None of them have been invalidated. The first one to get invalidated is 98. If we run 98, then this flag here gets invalidated. That target here comes from a head and shoulders from quite some time ago. The blue one. There's your shoulder. There was your 47.5. That was a neckline on the head and shoulder tops of the previous bull market when it turned bear. Very key level that on the way up. You triggered that. Again, you pulled all the way back. You had the carry trade. Everyone was like, but you said we're going to do 148, 149, 150. And we were back down here at 50,000, 49,000 after triggering the 47.5. You went up and over and all the way back down. But you've worked your way up. You worked your way up and you've had some ups and downs. So at the moment, I think we're still working our way up. It's not a ripper. It's not a melt up. Here's how you get the melt up. Demand destroying event, chronic. You get an ugly sell-off. Ouch. And then they throw everything at buying gold. They won't be able to print. People who think you can print as much as they did before, you're not got the bid in debt, but they do devaluations. You have, UBI announced for all the serfs. We're going to have a different cycle this time. It's not a subprime and a CV19 cycle. The debt market can't take new issuance on the same scale. You can't do another 23 trillion to the banks and 9 trillion to people. You can't do that. No one's going to take the other end of that instrument. No one's going to say, okay, I'll be the guy who lent that to them. I'll own that asset. People can't pay. So you're not going to get paid back. The interest rates are climbing. It doesn't happen. Nobody wants that. So it's hard for them to generate the COVID-19 that saw you fall to 4K and then run to 60, all the way up to 64 and then 69. It's very hard for that same. So you're going to have a longer cycle of grinding up, which will be business cycle orientated. And crypto and gold are positioned as the new sound money versus the dollar and the treasury. The biggest dyer here is fiat generally, but especially the dollar, and debt markets, especially the treasury markets, but also the UK, the French, all the synchronized Western nations. This is particularly a Western nations crisis. Cubic says MPC Records. Thank you for your contribution, and we will go and take it in. Cubic, dollar, QBC. Let's see it. QUBIC. That one I can find. I'm hoping Gatio will be a good one. Yeah, so listing pump, obvious. You had a kind of base here. The sad fact is you didn't hold on to it. You got your pump recovery. This was a big sell-off. So what that actually does is it tells me there were some people that were in it for the pump. It never gave them quite what they wanted. And even after the first listing dump, there were quite a few people that still wanted exits. So it took a long time to get your low. This whole pink draw is one long listing and then flush out of all the there for the money, not for the tech. You know, the guys that I got given some, I just want out. What money can I make? And they sold. So that's a long period of spike up, what false base, a surge. They did something of some relevance, some planned PR, some development, but then you ended up with an even deeper washout. That's a pity. So you're going to need a bit more time with this one. It was Mademoiselle MPC Records. I see a female face. But what about more recently? You got a little bit more spicy and you broke out of the channel here. Sell-off, surge, sell-off. It's not an easy technical read. There's lots of surges. You can see why you surged. This was a key level roundabout here, the 15 and God knows how many zeros. You know the number better than me, but that was a key level because of the base. So you were initially supported here, supported. Then you were resisted. But because of that resistance, when you finally took it over here, you got your surge. So what resists you eventually makes you stronger in the end when it falls. You minor pullback, you want it to continue, and then you got a bit jumped on. So it wants to go up, but it's now got a new support zone. You want to see this held. So if Ethereum keeps going up, Bitcoin doesn't do too badly, and it can hold this, maybe it can start doing better. But that is a little bit of a category of a marginally higher high. I don't think you're about to miss any major upside here. It needs to base technically and maybe make a rounded bottom out of this. You're not just about to make a buy. It'll be a good result just to hold the support and build some time in basing. It's not a particularly good look, this. It's a bit of a broadening structure. Let me just show you that. We talk about an ascending megaphone on a bull pole. It's a little bit points to progress decay. Chop, churn. It's not the best news. I feel bad for telling you bad news. People that have asked and want a sincere answer, but I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I will go to Dent again. Did I not do a good job, Mina? I thought I did a good job. Dent USD. Well, did we already do that one? Or is that a second request? Do it again. You did your homework real bad. Do it again. Kraken. So this is the one where I told you might get a squeeze. Let's see if we've got a better history here. That was its listing. I really don't want that in there. It just ruins the scaling. She wants on the crypto source. Okay. Is it Dent? No, it's not that one. There it is. See if we can get a bit more history then. Oh, it's much better history. Okay, I understand. Sorry, we made you chase us so hard. Okay, monthly. So that's some history going some way back. You're quite heavily in this one. This is what I would like to see for you. So I would treat this as one big impulse, and you might get a second. This has some of the XRP. The sad part is you just keep making marginally lower lows. You're not finishing the bottoming process yet. But longer term, there could be something pretty good coming for you. So now that's a low. What we really need is for that little fractal that I showed you the first time, which is the only bit I got right, to start working up and get you a third high, something like that. Then you'll have something very similar potentially to XRP. But you'll be one impulse behind because you're still making your secondary low. That's number 2 of your lows. That's your first low. That's your first high. That's your second high. That's your second low. So we want you to get a 3 and then a 3 low. But you need to squeeze here and you need to work your way higher. And we also want that 3 to be a reasonable height. It needs to get 50% of this total height here, there to there. So that would be, I'll draw it for you. I'll give you a number. So we're looking at Dent for someone who is deeply invested. So 50%, you see it's quite high because I've got you, we're on a log scale. Log scale makes things, you're a lot flatter and lower than it looks. You had such a super surge. So let's clean our face there. You need to get up to here. It's quite high. It's 0.011. So you need basically 1.1 cent as a 50% mark. And you're down here quite low where you are. You've got a bit of climbing to do. But it has run with the bull markets and it has it's got that kind of a structure in it. The question is, would I wait in this when there's others that have similar but better and already deeper in? Do you sell out and get a different product, a different other alt that's already doing this, like XRP as we've shown you, or even better, there's also Monero we've shown. There is also Tron. You see, the bigger caps might win harder. The bigger caps might win harder. You need this to come off the floor and get to the 50% level. That's a long way up. But on the macro, I see now what you might have thought was interesting. But that's a long, long way to go. When you're not even 1 cent, you need to get with 1.1 cent, and you've got to get a couple of zeros. You've got to go up 10 times a few times. So it's a big ask, Mina. Yeah. So I think hopefully we've helped you as best we can there. 0.006. Yeah, you want to get, I would like to get you up to 0.01, 1 cent. Then you could be setting up something much more interesting that could go really high. But I think you're going to wait quite a while for that, if it happens at all. Okay, guys. I think that's it. I think I'm going to close. We wanted to just tell you, so we were summarizing before we did that thing. So let's just finish the short summary, and then you guys can all go. Glad to be at 404 of you watching. If you can hit the like button, that's appreciated for the algorithm. It's very useful for us. What are we talking about? We're talking about Bitcoin is looking like it might support. Still early doors, it might support. So Bitcoin, let's get it in. And that is encouraging. It means most people are possibly too bearish on crypto right now. It might support at the 108. If it starts scurrying and getting back up a little bit, it's going to shock people. The other key point that crypto people don't realize is gold is doing you a favor by highlighting the failure of the debt-based fiat system. And if digital money is to win, it needs to go up too, which is positive because gold moves first. He's the king. He's the old man. He stands up from the table. Everyone else can stand up from the table, but he moves first. That's what's happening. Gold is ripping. I think we told you about it. Let's have a look. There you go. It is now 3,564. That's a crypto-like break, guys. That's a really beautiful. That is classic HVF method. This is what we trade. You want to know what we get up to? It's right here, right there. It's right here, right there. Low. Got in really tight risk under there and in early with big rewards. We're on excess of 18, knocking on the door of 19 R's there. That means for every 1,000 I was prepared to risk, I'm getting 19x. You can do this too in crypto and in other markets, by the way. So we trade technically. So gold is backing Bitcoin. Bitcoin is running. Gold might be doing a little too well, might be honey badgering a little bit on Bitcoin, but it is due to have a rest because it's close to it's run its second interim. At that juncture, maybe a little bit will start to say, well, shouldn't the digital gold go up a little bit too? And then we get the ongoing support for Bitcoin, which was where we started this show. We also pointed out that Bitcoin Cash, for whatever reason, is actually getting a little bit of love, So there you go. It is now firming up and it's looking a little better. It doesn't have to do massive stuff. It just has to properly move away. If it can take out the previous high, which is 113, and make higher highs, higher lows, you're back in range. That will ignite the rest of the alt markets that need to run, which brings us back to our friend BTC dominance, which is showing that the alts will go. That looks like a pennant. We're on the weekly time frame. So, and it's also a little HVF, like that. If we can get that up and over and then break out, we'll be back into the alts overperforming, which means your Ethereum, which is the next cab on the rank to get the treatment on the USDTs, can start running again. And it's doing quite well, and it's getting a nice little bounce at the moment. So you might just, the hardship of the last couple of weeks might just be coming over to the end for the patient. And you can thank gold for that a little bit. And you can also thank Bitcoin for holding on to the 108, just the technical run. And you can also learn something about the sellings coming in 3 and softening. That's the best way you want it. Rally, rally. This is your turn. This is your turn. Okay, so you can still get in fairly early, even if it just goes up to range and meets proximate previous highs or into range. You can put tight stops on that candle. You shouldn't run. Not a recommendation. We are not a regulated channel. We're here for your entertainment. How I might do it when I talk, it's how I might do it. You should you should get advice. You should do all the other things. If you trade, you should have a methodology. You should have stop losses. You should understand risks. You should know how much you can risk per trade and everything else. Play safe. Don't get destroyed, guys. It might be a longer, less hectic, but longer cycle with more ups and down periods and requiring more patience. You're being merged into needing the patience of silver and gold investors as everything lengthens. But the good part of that is the sell-offs also get less intense. You don't lose 80% in bear markets anymore, and you start to get more stability, and that is the direction they want to move you in. So there you go. Some bullish vibes for Ethereum. There'll be other movers that will move well. Look at your dominance charts technically. Watch for the 3 sellings and then the basing out something. And for that, I give you a salute and I say, go ahead and enjoy. Big news coming Friday. You want to join us? Watch the trading link. If you're not careful, there could be volatility involved with that data release that will affect the crypto market this Friday. Be warned. First Friday of the month is non-farm payrolls and, of course, our live trading day where we will be trading for an hour and a half. You can join us, get a recording of the clip, which you can access for a full month just for $197. You click that link that's being shared at the moment. You can come and join us. Plus, get a heads up on the traditional markets. It's 3 hours of time with me with a half-hour break, and you can revisit it. And if you take 3 for the price of 2, you have 3 months of access to all of it, and you can see how the trades pan out. And you can walk with us as we take the crypto markets on. Till next time, I'll catch you later. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for hitting the likes and shares, and always remembering to hit the bell. Otherwise, you are not subscribed and you will not be notified. See you next time. Bye for now.